Welcome back to The Mortals. This is the place where we tear down the walls brick by brick. We peel back the layers of life's most chilling and bone-rattling moments. It is here that nothing is off limits. That's life, death, the sinister in between, and those stories that creep into the darkest corners of the unknown. I'm Nathan Morris. I'm your guide through tales of near death, the unexplainable, and the transformative terror of loss. Before we descend into today's darkness, I have a grim little nudge for you. Because if you're new here and you haven't hit that follow button yet, you gotta beware, because rumor has it, if you don't follow the Mortals, you're gonna find yourself on stage at a huge event. Maybe a wedding toast or a big work presentation. After months of memorizing your speech, word for word, only to freeze up under the spotlight. Your mind goes blank, the crowd is staring, and you just start mumbling random nonsense. Maybe even reciting the lyrics to a nursery rhyme just to fill the silence while sweat drips down your forehead and someone in the back yells, "Get off the stage!" Just don't be that person. Save yourself the haunting embarrassment and hit follow right now and join our community of shadowed souls. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Thursday, so set a reminder to keep the chills coming, tie a string around your finger, whatever you gotta do. Today, we're diving into two stories that are gonna grip your heart and twist your mind. Two real accounts of survival against impossible odds in places no one would call sacred, a hospital basement and a blazing kitchen. Yet, in their darkest moments, something, or someone, reached out from beyond to pull them back from the edge. Let's step into the unknown with basement doors and burning kitchens. Our first story takes us to the cold, sterile underbelly of a hospital in Detroit, Michigan, on a quiet night in 2008. It's around 2 o'clock a.m., the witching hour, when the world feels like it's holding its breath. The hospital, a sprawling, aging beast of a building in the heart of the city, is mostly silent, save for the distant hum of machinery and the occasional beep of a monitor echoing through empty halls. Upstairs, patients sleep or suffer in their beds. Nurses shuffle through charts and the night shift drags on. But down below, in the sub-basement, it's a very different world. A maze of dimly lit corridors, flickering fluorescent lights, and the faint drip of leaking pipes. It's the kind of place you don't linger, where the air feels heavier, like it's carrying secrets no one wants to hear. And this is where we meet Monique Garrett, a 34-year-old nurse with a decade of experience under her belt. Monique is tough. She's no nonsense, and she's the kind of person who has seen it all. Codes gone wrong, families breaking down, fights, the quiet finality of a flat line. She's working the graveyard shift, running on coffee and sheer willpower. When she's sent to grab extra IV bags from the supply room 2 floors down. The main elevator is slow, always jammed with staff or gurneys, so Monique opts for the service elevator in the back, a rickety old thing used mostly for hauling equipment. It's faster, or so she thinks, and she's in a hurry to get back to her patients. She steps inside, the doors creak shut, and the elevator groans as it descends into the hospital's depths. The sub-basement is a forgotten place, a warren of all these storage rooms, boiler units, and very narrow hallways that smell of damp concrete and antiseptic. The walls are lined with peeling paint. The lights buzz with a sickly yellow glow, and every sound, every footstep, every drip, it echoes like a whisper in a tomb. Monique's been down here before countless times, but never alone, and never this late. As the elevator shudders to a stop halfway between floors, a flicker of unease creeps into Monique's chest. The panel blinks erratically. The doors, they refuse to open, and the air inside grows stifling. She jabs at the buttons, her breath quickening, but nothing happens. Finally, with a grunt of frustration, she forces the inner door open, revealing a dark gap to the floor below. She can see the hallway through the outer gate. It's a sliver of flickering light. And against her better judgment, she climbs out, dropping to the cold concrete with a thud that reverberates through the silence. The stage is set for a moment of terror and something beyond understanding that's about to step into the shadows. It's 2:15 a.m. on May the 3rd, 2008, and Monique is alone in the sub-basement of a Detroit hospital, a place that feels more like a crypt than a workplace. And she's just climbed out of a stalled elevator, her sneakers scuffling against the gritty floor, her breath fogging in the chilly air, and the hallway stretches out before her, a tunnel of flickering lights and deep shadows, with doors to storage rooms and utility closets that are lining the walls like the silent sentinels. And her goal has been simple: grab the IV bag from the supply room at the far end and get back upstairs. But the silence down here is oppressive. It's broken only by the distant hum of a generator and the faint drip, drip, drip of a leak that's somewhere in the dark. Her heart's already racing from the elevator scare, and every creak of the building sounds like a footstep that's behind her. She's halfway down the hall when it hits. A sudden, sharp pain in her chest, like a vice clamping down. Her breath catches, her vision blurs, and her legs buckle beneath her. She collapses to the cold floor, her clipboard clattering away into the shadows. Monique's a nurse. She knows what's happening. Cardiac arrhythmia. Her heart misfiring, unable to pump properly. Her hands claw at her chest, her gasps shallow and ragged, but there's no one to hear her, no one at all around to help. The sub-basement is dead zone at this hour. No cameras in this stretch of the hallway, no staff are wandering by. Her pulse is fading, her eyes flutter shut, and for 7 minutes, as later confirmed by security footage from a nearby stairwell camera, she lies there, motionless. No respiration, no sign of life. By medical standards, she is dead. And she's lost in this forgotten hallway beneath a hospital that's meant to save lives. But here's where the story takes a turn into unexplainable territory. Monique later recounts that she wasn't gone. Not really. She describes standing in that same hallway, but everything was different. It was brighter, like a dream painted in vivid hues. The flickering lights, no, they were steady. The air, now warm instead of cold, and the oppressive silence was replaced by soft hum, like a distant lullaby. And she could see her own body on the floor, pale and still, but she felt no pain, no fear, a very strange calm. And then, from the shadows at the end of the hall, a figure emerged. A man in scrubs, tall, broad-shouldered, with a kind face weathered by time. His eyes locked on hers, piercing yet gentle, and he spoke in a voice that seemed to echo from everywhere and nowhere all at once. "Don't go back upstairs. You're not done yet." Monique's mind reeled. She didn't recognize this man, not a coworker, not a doctor that she'd ever seen in her 10 years at this hospital. But his words carried weight, of course. It was a command that she couldn't ignore, as if those words were etched into her very soul. She wanted to ask who he was, what he meant, but before she could, the brightness started to fade. The hallway began to dim, and a jolt of pain slammed her back into her body. Her eyes, they snapped open, her chest heaving as she gasped for air, as a janitor, making a rare late-night sweep, rounded the corner and spotted her. His shout for help echoed down the hall as he radioed for a crash team. Minutes later, medics arrived. A defibrillator shocked her heart back into rhythm. And against every odd, Monique was alive. Her pulse was weak but steady, and her body was trembling on the cold concrete. But as they wheeled her upstairs, her mind clung to that man in the scrubs and his cryptic warning. What did he mean, not done yet? And who had pulled her back from the brink? Monique Garrett's survival on this eerie night, May 3rd, 2008, is an anomaly medically. She spent days in ICU, hooked up to monitors, making sure her heart was okay after all. It was under constant watch. Tests confirmed that she did suffer a cardiac arrhythmia, likely triggered by stress and fatigue, a condition that should have ended her life in those 7 minutes of clinical death in the basement where no one was. There was no oxygen to the brain for 7 minutes, and that often means severe damage. Yet Monique emerges with no neurological deficits. She's exhausted. Physically, she recovers, and she returned to work weeks later, though she did avoid the sub-basement like a plague. But mentally, she had a scar that ran deeper. She suffered from nightmares of the hallway and the man's voice replaying in her quiet moments. Don't go back upstairs. You're not done yet. She couldn't shake it. Who was he? She asked around, describing the man in scrubs to colleagues, doctors, even security guards who'd seen the footage of her collapse. No one matched her description. No tall, weathered man with kind eyes worked the night shift. Not then, not ever in her memory. Months later, during a casual chat in the break room, a retired nurse overheard Monique's story, and the older woman's face paled as she pulled out a faded photo from a hospital archive. It was a group shot from the 1970s. Was this him? She asked, pointing to a man in the back row. Monique's breath caught. It was him. Down to the gentle slope of his jaw, the knowing eyes. The retired nurse explained he was Dr. Henry Carver, a beloved physician who'd worked at the hospital until his death in 1972, right in that same sub-basement hallway from a sudden heart attack during a late-night emergency call. No one had been there to save him. The revelation shook Monique. Was this a hallucination? It couldn't have been. Was this her brain conjuring a savior from hospital lore that she may have subconsciously absorbed? Or was it Dr. Carver, tied to that hallway by his own tragic end, and he lingered to guide her and anyone else who may face something similar back? And what did "not done yet" mean? Monique continued to wrestle with this, eventually finding quiet purpose in her work, mentoring young nurses, staying late to comfort patients, as if fulfilling a debt to the voice. The sub-basement remains a whispered legend among the staff at the hospital. It's a place where the veil feels very thin, where some swear they've heard footsteps, or felt a chill with no source, or felt a physical presence. Here at The Mortals, I don't have the answer, but chilling Monique's story. It's a reminder that even in clinical and sterile places and spaces, something unseen might be definitely watching, waiting even to decide who stays and who goes. We're in the kitchen of a retirement home. It's a modest facility. It's tucked into this quiet neighborhood where the smell of frying onions and simmering soup usually fills the air. It's the lunch rush. Trays are clattering, orders are barked over the hum of industrial fans, and the staff are scrambling to feed dozens of residents who are eager for their midday meal. This is a place of routine, of comfort, where food is more than sustenance. It's a tether to memory and to home. And this is where we meet Luis, a 59-year-old head chef who spent 3 decades behind a stove. Luis is a bear of a man. Broad-shouldered, hands that are calloused from years of chopping and stirring and searing. He is the heartbeat of this kitchen, a working-class hero who takes pride in every plate, knowing that his meals might be the highlight of a resident's day. Today, he's alone. His sous chef is out sick, handling the rush single-handedly. The kitchen is a pressure cooker, literally and figuratively. Pots are bubbling on the range, grease is sizzling in pans, and the ancient ventilation system wheezing to keep up. He is the heartbeat of this kitchen, a working-class hero who takes tons of pride in every plate, knowing that his meals might be the absolute highlight of a resident's day. And today, he's alone because his sous chef is out sick. He's handling the rush single-handedly. And the kitchen is a pressure cooker, both literally and figuratively. Pots are bubbling on the range, grease is sizzling in the pans, and the ancient ventilation system is wheezing to try to keep up. And Lewis, he's in the zone, flipping burgers, ladling soup. Sweat is beading on his brow under his stained apron. But beneath the controlled chaos, there's danger that's lurking in the faulty grease trap under the fryer, a ticking time bomb that no one has noticed. As the clock ticks towards 12:30 p.m., the stage is now set for a fiery nightmare. And something beyond the flames is about to intervene. It's past 12:30 p.m. It's June 15th, 2013. In the kitchen of a San Antonio retirement home, it is hot, and Lewis is a whirlwind of emotion, juggling orders during the lunch rush, the heat of the stove mixing with the Texas summer heat to turn this room into an inferno. Grease is popping in the fryer, steam is rising from boiling pots, and the air is thick with this scent of charred meat and spices. He's alone. Sweat is soaking through his apron. His focus is razor sharp as he plates these meals for waiting trays. But beneath the fryer, a grease trap, clogged and neglected for months, has reached a breaking point. A spark from an overheated element catches, and in an instant, a small flame licks up from the trap. Unnoticed at first in the chaos, but within seconds the flame grows, feeding on built-up grease, and erupts into a roaring fire that leaps to the ceiling above. The tiles, old, flammable, they ignite like kindling, sending embers raining down. Lewis spins at the sound of crackling, his heart dropping as he sees this blaze that's spreading with terrifying speed. He lunges for the fire extinguisher that's mounted on the wall, but the flames are already out of control and cutting him off from the exit. Smoke is billowing, black, choking, and it stings his eyes and sears his lungs as he coughs. The alarm system, slow to trigger, hasn't even sounded, and no help is coming. A flaming beam from the ceiling collapses with this deafening crash, and it pins Lewis beneath its weight, the heat scorching his skin as Lewis screams in agony. His arms, legs are seared with first and second degree burns. The pain is blinding, and smoke inhalation drags him toward unconsciousness. His heart stutters, then stops. Cardiac arrest, induced by the trauma and lack of oxygen. For over 4 minutes, Lewis is dead, trapped in this burning tomb. But here's where the impossible intervenes. Lewis later describes not darkness, not nothingness, but a moment of clarity amid the inferno. He says he was standing at the same prep counter. The flames are gone at this point. The kitchen is silent and pristine, as if untouched by disaster. Across from him stood a man in a white apron, older, with this weathered face, warm smile. The man's eyes held a quiet strength, and the man spoke in this voice that cut through the haze. You've fed thousands, but there's still one more. Lewis felt no pain, no fear, a profound sense of purpose, as if the words were a lifeline. He had no idea who this man was. He couldn't place him among the staff, the residents, anyone that he's met in the last 30 years, but the message burned into him. Before he could respond, a jolt of agony ripped him back to reality. His chest convulsing as paramedics, finally alerted by the belated alarm, they shocked his heart with a defibrillator. Water from the sprinklers was now active, drenched the smoldering wreckage as they had pulled him free, and his body is burned, but he's alive. As they rush Lewis to the hospital, his mind clung to the man in the apron. Who was he talking about? Who was he meant to feed? Lewis survived on June 15, 2013, and it defies medical expectation. He spent 6 months recovering, first in a burn unit, then in rehab. He battled pain from the first and second degree burns that were across his arms, legs, back. And doctors were stunned because his injuries, while very severe, they were less extensive than expected for someone trapped in a grease fire of that magnitude. His heart, it had stopped for over 4 minutes, and it showed no lasting damage. rarity in cardiac arrest cases, especially for someone his age. Physically, Lewis mended, and he returned to the kitchen with scars as badges of survival, of honor, though the smell of grease does now carry a bitter edge. Mentally, the toll far heavier. Nightmares of flames and smoke, they plagued Lewis, but so did the image of that man in this white apron. His words continued to echo in the quiet moments. You fed thousands, but there's still one more. That haunted him. It was a riddle that he felt, and he couldn't solve it. It was a purpose that he couldn't grasp. He was determined to find answers, and Lewis asked around the retirement home. He asked anybody that he came in contact with, and he described the man to coworkers, managers, even longtime residents who might have remembered past chefs. No one matched his vision. No older man with a weathered face, warm smile had worked there in recent memory, and the mystery lingered until months later. A staff reunion celebrating the kitchen's rebuild, a former cook pulled out an old photo album from the home's early days. And flipping through faded Polaroids, Lewis froze on a picture from 1980, a group shot of the original kitchen crew. And there in the center stood the man in the white apron, smiling just as he had in Lewis's vision. The former cook identified him as Miguel Torres, the first head chef. When the home opened, a beloved figure who'd passed away in 1991 from a stroke, long before Lewis ever stepped foot in the kitchen. The revelation hit Lewis like a punch. How in the world? Was this a trick? Was he able to find the face from the photo that he may have glimpsed over years before? Or had Miguel, tied to the kitchen that he once ruled, did he return to help Lewis and pull him back from death for a specific reason? And who was the one more? Lewis continued to wrestle with it. Eventually, he resolved himself by volunteering on his days off, and he cooked for local shelters, and he fed the hungry as if each meal might be the one Miguel was speaking about. The rebuilt kitchen at the retirement home, it became a place of whispered lore, staff swearing they'd felt a presence during late shifts, a fleeting warmth by the prep counter. I live for these unanswered questions. These are the ones that shimmer in the heat of what we can't seem to prove. Lewis's story. It burns with the possibility that even in a blazing inferno, someone might decide your work isn't done. It's funny how people are used in life and, in this instance, in death. So keep that in mind with the decisions that you make and your willingness to be mindful of and willing to. Let's linger in the eerie unknown of Monique, Lewis, their stories. These are two people, they're two worlds apart, a sterile hospital basement in Detroit and a fiery kitchen in San Antonio. One slips into clinical death amid flickering shadows. The other succumbs to smoke and flame in a place that's meant for comfort. And both return with fractured memories and the echo of voices that aren't entirely human, but they are, and they're guiding them back from this brink with cryptic purpose. How do you survive 7 minutes without a pulse? Or 4 minutes of cardiac arrest under a burning beam? When all the statistics on Earth, they scream fatality. And then there's the intervention. Monique's man in scrubs, Lewis's chef in the apron, both seem to be tied to the very places of their deaths decades before, but both delivering messages of unfinished work. Monique hears, "Don't go back upstairs. You're not done yet." Lewis, he's told, "You've fed thousands, but there's still one more." Both survived against all medical odds, and their recoveries that defied logic. Their lives subtly shifted toward more purpose. Monique mentoring, Lewis feeding the hungry, as if fulfilling silent commands. It's not just about escaping death. These stories, they're about brushing against this design that we can't see. A thread of fate pulled by forces that we can't name. And it forces us to continue to wonder, are there entities tied to the places that we tread that are watching and waiting to intervene when we teeter on the edge? And if so, what do they see in us that we don't? What unfinished work keeps us here? Monique and Lewis, they walked away from death's door. They were guided by whispers that defy explanation. It's their stories that leave us trembling in the dark. And maybe that's their power. Sometimes the unexplainable isn't a mystery to solve, but a shiver to feel, a reminder that life hangs by threads that we can't see, in places we least expect. If you've ever experienced something unexplainable, maybe a near-death terror, an eerie intervention, a loss that still haunts you, I want to hear from you. Join the Mortals community. It's a space for deeper conversations. I have exclusive behind-the-scenes content, a chance to connect with others and yours truly who genuinely feel the chill of these stories like you. Members get early access to episodes, bonus content, direct line to yours truly. You get to share your own experiences. Check out the link in the description, or you can visit nathanmorrismusic.com to join. Your story might be the one that we tell next. And remember, new episodes, they drop every Tuesday and Thursday, so do not miss a single tale. Thank you for listening to The Mortals, where the walls come down, the mysteries, they stay unsolved, and sometimes the answers only lead to darker questions. I like it that way. Until next time, take care of yourselves. You're loved far more than you could ever know.